Welcome back, everybody. We're doing another fun episode of Indie Reads Aloud. I love this program because I get to bring you guys really super fun authors with interesting and engaging books. And as you all know, we're in our fifth season, so you know by now I am just a recovering 6-year-old, and I love it when people read out loud to me, and I simply can't get enough. Today on the program, Nora Gold is joining us, and she is coming all the way from Toronto, Canada. Welcome, Nora.
Thank you so much for having me, Diana. So happy to
I'm
be here.
thrilled that you're here. I love meeting new authors. I have not read your work yet, so this is super exciting to me. I get to expand my TBR with your story today. Today, you're going to be reading from a book called Doubles, which is literary fiction. Super accessible, though. And when we were talking in the green room, you were telling me that this is a story that is told from the narrator's point of view, a 12-year-old girl who is obsessed with math.
Mhm.
Now, I'm allergic to math, which is why I work in the world of words. So
Mhm.
tell me how you got the idea for this character. How did this personality germinate inside your head?
Well, I work in a very organic way. I didn't plan anything about it. I suddenly felt this character. I've never written about a 12-year-old before, so this was surprising.
Okay.
The main character, who is unnamed, has been placed in an institution for disturbed youth, where she does not belong. She's not a disturbed or troubled 12-year-old. You find out in the course of the reading how she got there, but she really doesn't belong there at all. And she survives by doing math. A lot of people don't like math. I think many girls and women, females, have been told they're not, quote, good at math. And actually, there's all this research showing that there's a lot of sexism, and actually, many of us are potentially good at math.
Sure.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah. I am
Um,
not potentially good at math. I make no secrets of it. Not my thing.
Yeah. But
Um,
anyway, the story just came to me really as a whole. I
okay.
never thought about it, but I do have a background in social work. And there was one scene in here which when I was writing the novella, I wasn't aware of it at all. But once the book came out, as it did on May 1st, it just came out, and people began to interview me and ask me, what's the genesis of this story? I realized that I did have an encounter, a very negative encounter once in a group home for disturbed, quote, children. And I have great respect for most of the professionals who work in these fields, but this was a very negative experience where the kids were just all watching TV instead of being educated. And I was very upset by it. And only when people asked me, where did this come from? I think that particular experience definitely contributed to this
Yeah. Yeah.
novella.
Well, how could it not? You
Yeah,
know, you
yeah,
have an experience like that, and our first instinct as writers is to put that story on paper,
yeah.
you
Well, it
know.
took many years because this was maybe 25 years ago, but
Mhm.
30 years ago.
But
But
it's
it
one of
stayed
those
with me.
things that
Yeah,
sticks in the back of your head,
yeah,
and your
yeah,
brain kind of noodles on it,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
it comes out in bits and spurts.
Exactly.
So you say you write organically. Does that mean that you are a pantser as opposed to a plotter? Do you use an outline? What's your basic
I don't
process?
use, yeah, I don't use outlines. I remember the first time I met somebody who said that she had picked a time period, picked a type of character, planned the plot, and then wrote the whole thing down. And I was floored. Like, I had never even considered that someone could write that way. And the product was a good book. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't say this in any judgmental way. There are a million ways to write, and they're all
Sure.
good. But I just write what comes out. And often I don't, well, often, almost always, I don't know what's in me until it's on the paper. And after it's all out there, or a lot of it's out there, I look at it and I edit frequent. I mean, I edit a lot. I edit
Mm-hmm.
until it's where I want it to be.
Sure.
But I often don't know what it's even about until I've done a fair bit of the writing. And I almost never
See,
know where it's from, you know?
that absolutely fascinates me because I'm a passionate plotter.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
I,
maybe
I
like so many, I know.
yeah, and in my writing community, I know a lot. The overwhelming majority of my writing community are pantsers. They just write the story as it happens organically, and then they go in and fine tune it. And that I think that's magical.
Yeah,
I
I
I
do
don't
too.
I don't know how you can just go in and do stuff without knowing the beginning, middle, and end before you start. So we all, as you say, we all do it differently. There's
Yeah,
always a different approach and the nuances to our craft. And I think that's part of why I love literature so
me
much.
too. Me too. It's fascinating how differently you can do the same sort of thing and end up with a book. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I am super excited to hear you read. And then after the reading, we'll have another little conversation and chat about it. So, you're going to be reading from Doubles.
Hmm.
When you are ready, Nora Gold, please take the microphone and read aloud.
I shall. Thank you so much, Diana. This is the cover of the book.
Awesome.
Doubles. Yeah. And all you need to know, you know already that she's living in this institution. You need to know that it's an epistolary book. She writes answers to questions she is asked by a trustee. And this is one of her answers. The question is, tell us your opinion about something. Takes place September 18th, 1968. In my opinion, the world is divided into two words, yes and no. In my life now, yes is when things are more or less okay, and I feel calm and relaxed, maybe even a bit happy. No is when I remember that nobody, here or anywhere, cares about me, and no one from my family is going to rescue me and bring me home. In math, yes, no is like base 2, the binary system. There, everything is divided into either a 1 or a 0, just as in life, where there's either something or there's nothing, and people are either something or they're nothing. In the world of base 2, my double, wandering freely in the sunshine, having adventures and interesting experiences, the person I used to be but I can't be anymore because I'm in this institution, is a 1. And I, stuck here with no freedom, am a 0. I can understand why some people feel bad about being a 0. It makes sense in a way. It's not only the people of Czechoslovakia, under the boot of the Russians who just invaded them, who want to be free. Everyone does. Everyone loves the Monkees song, I Want to Be Free. Base 2 could also be called second base. When I had a home, that home was my home base. Now I'm being thrown between bases like a baseball. From first base to second, then maybe on to third, but I'll never make it home. Who knows how many bases and how many homes I'll end up in by the time I turn 16. Whatever happens, though, I'll always have numbers for company. They're the one thing in the world I can rely on. You can count on numbers, not just count them, but count on them. A 3 is a 3, and it always will be a 3, no more, no less. Numbers don't pretend or lie, get sick or die. They're always there and never change. In my opinion, they're perfect, or as close to perfect as you'll ever find. It's not only me who needs numbers, everyone does. Every person on this planet. Without numbers, you couldn't dance, use money, tell the time, bake a cake, make plans with friends, play music, know how warmly to dress, or follow current events. For instance, how many people were killed today in Europe? In other words, you couldn't live in our world. We're dependent on numbers for almost everything, and they are our one true language. Definitely truer than words. For instance, one of the counselors here is away today because last night he went to a restaurant, ate chicken, and got salmonella poisoning. How ridiculous is that? How can chicken give you salmonella? It's not salmon. If you ate spoiled salmon, would you get chickenella? Of course not. See what I mean? Words compared to numbers are unclear and confusing. If I could answer this question entirely in numbers with no words at all, I would. But I don't have enough mathematical language for that. Or anyway, not yet. Numbers are the only thing I trust, the only thing I believe in. Simon and Garfunkel sang The Only Truth I Know Is You. The only truth I know is numbers. So maybe from now on I should pray every day to numbers, instead of reciting the prayer they make us say here, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who's not in heaven, my Father's not in heaven. I will pray to numbers instead, as they taught us here to do. I'll kneel down, form my hands into a steeple, and close my eyes, and then I'll recite in a solemn voice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and just keep going till I fall asleep. Numbers are perfect, but sometimes they seem imperfect, even evil, because of what people do with them. People can misuse numbers same as anything else, and I hate when this happens and numbers get blamed for things that aren't their fault. One afternoon last winter, Regina, my sister Vicky's friend, came over and showed us a game she'd found. It was a chart divided into 4 squares, and each square was a category that you rated a person on with a number from 0 to 10. The 4 categories were looks, intelligence, personality, and character, and I watched transfixed as Regina and Vicky rated some of the boys in our neighborhood. It was sort of interesting, as well as harmless, until they got to Patsy's brother Freddie. After they rated him, he had a final score of 17 out of 40. That's 42%, and at school, 50% or under is a failing mark. Freddie failed this test. My face must have shown something because Regina asked me what was wrong. Did I disagree with their scoring? Did Freddie deserve a higher mark on any of the categories? I silently reviewed all 4 of them while Regina and Vicky watched me closely. On looks, I admitted to myself that they were right. Freddie's not good looking. He has pale, blotchy skin, squinty eyes, and a big nose. On intelligence, he's not smart at school. On personality, he's not charming, self-confident, or popular. He's quiet and shy and blushes easily. But still, I thought, he's Patsy's older brother. He's always been kind to her and friendly to me, and I like him. Well, Regina said in her usual brutal way, if our scores are wrong, show us where. I thought of telling her about Freddie's goodness, and that because of that we should raise his character score from 7 to 10. But I realized that even with this he would end up with only a 20 out of 40, which is still a fail. I sat there, frustrated and silent, knowing that something was wrong with the rating scale, but I couldn't explain what. Now I can. After everything I've learned from my green math book, I understand what the problem was. Character is more important than looks, but they got the exact same weight, a maximum of 10 points. Character should have been given 15 or 20 to show it counts for more. I finished my green math book this past Thursday. I'd learned every single page in it and completed every problem or puzzle. I love that book, my trusty friend, my only friend since I've been here. But now I can't wait for my new math book to arrive. I'm going crazy with boredom without any math to work on. All this week I've had nothing to do but lounge around the rec room with the TV blaring its stupid boring shows and wait for the next meal or snack. My new math book, which is not green like the old one but vermilion, contains not only algebra but also geometry and statistics. Statistics, as Regina's game showed, can twist things around and, in a way, lie, using numbers to prove anything you want. Geometry, too, is about proving things, but differently than statistics. In geometry, there are proofs. And also, I guess, disproofs, because any time you prove one thing, you're disproving something else. For example, if 3 plus 2 equals 5, then 3 plus 2 does not equal 6. Anyway, when I get my new math book, I'm going to be searching in it for proofs. Proof that will prove I'm okay, that I'm good, or at least good enough to go home. That I'm not a bad and messed up kid like the others here who require supervision and the protection of a children's farm. Maybe no such proofs exist, or at least not in my new math book. Well, if I can't find them there, I'll invent them myself. First, I'll study from this book very hard, and after 4 or 5 more math books, once I've learned everything in them and solved every single problem and puzzle, sooner or later I'll find or invent the proof I'm searching for, the one that will be my get out of jail free card and spring me from this place. This must be possible. There are lots of different kinds of proofs in the world, not just mathematical ones. For instance, Mom used to proof her dough when she baked bread, and Dad once a year would proof the roof of our house. This made it strong, he said, waterproof, which protected it from the elements. During storms, the heavy rain and hailstones would bounce off our roof without doing it any damage. Out there somewhere, there must be some kind of proof that can help me and make me super strong, that will protect me from the batterings of life in this awful place, so everything bounces off me and does me no harm. I'll write one more thing. Last month, Donnie, the bad boy here, caught my eye, and ever since then we sometimes smile at each other. We're not friends or anything. We don't sit or hang around together in the rec room. He's big, burly, and bad. He's the bad boy here, and I'm good, or anyway, what means good here, which is obedient and quiet. But lately I don't feel that I'm so good, and Donnie doesn't seem to me so bad. When he's not smashing things, getting into fistfights, or fighting or arguing with somebody, he's actually quite sweet. His hair is red, his nose is bulbous, and he has a laugh that's like a window opening. There's a kind of secret between us, the bad boy and the good girl. I can see his good, and he can see my bad. I'm not like him, but at the same time, I'm not so different. I don't break things, I don't act out or swear at grown-ups. But he makes sense in his own way. When he stands up to the counselors, he's only showing everyone he still has his dignity and pride. And I, and most of the other kids here, kind of admire him for that. Last week, a counselor said to him, "You have an anger problem," and maybe that's true. But Donnie's not the only one here who's angry. We all are. At meal times, they sit us girls separate from the boys the way they do in a real prison. It's probably just as well because the boys' tables are where the problems almost always happen at meals. Shouting arguments that turn into fisticuffs or food fights, where they hurl at each other anything they can get their hands on. Broccoli, beef stew, mashed potatoes, green peas, pudding all go flying across the room, and it's fun watching the counselors leap up with their mouths full, trying to swallow, and at the same time grab the slippery food-covered boys and restore order. And you should see the mess afterward. Even after the dishes have been cleared, the table and floor where the boys sat are covered in globs of meat, squashed peas, and potato mush floating in a greasy, grayish liquid like green-brown blood after a battle. Still, maybe the boys' way is better than how we, the girls, do it. At our little square table for four, we have Agnes, who's always crying, a new silent girl who won't look anywhere at her hands, except her hands, and a non-stop chatterbox who after a while makes you want to grab her neck and squeeze, just to make her stop talking. And last but not least, there's me, eating politely with my knife and fork, repeatedly cutting and stabbing at my food so I don't cut or stab a person, either me or anyone else. Lastly, I've been rereading the questions Miss Morisot asked me, and I want to change my answer to the third question, which was, what do you want to be when you're older? The answer I gave 6 weeks ago was, I want to be not lonely. But for the last couple of days, I've been thinking more about this question, and now my answer is, when I grow up, I want to be a prime number. A prime number is something strong and complete, and no one can divide it into smaller parts. It's indivisible, indivisible, as Americans say, with liberty and justice for all. I can tell right away when I look at someone if they are a prime number. Prime numbers stand alone, independent and proud. They're good enough as they are, and no one can take away their power because they are whole, a special kind of whole, and not just a fraction. Most of the girls I know, here or at home, are only fractions, or anyway, they're preparing to become fractions when they grow up. Their entire life is about planning to become one half in the future, when they turn into a half of a couple. I don't want to be half of a couple or half of anything. I don't want to be any kind of fraction, not fractioned or fractured. I want to be whole. And the best kind of whole number is a prime number. According to my green math book, the largest prime number in existence is 24,862,048 digits long. Wow, that is a powerful number. This is the sort of prime number I want to be. In fact, I'd like to be one that is even longer and stronger than that. No one could ever break me then.
Okay, this is a first for me. You just made math accessible.
It's just a language like any other, you know?
It's
It's
absolutely fantastic. I am so
thank you.
intrigued by this young woman. I love how her brain works. I love how she's thinking not quite linearly, but in layers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
You
very,
exactly
very
got it.
cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah. She's got this amazing mind. And
Yeah,
and then you see all of that feeding into a vulnerable young person who's looking for love and safety and so forth, and using numbers to try and find them. I think really she survives through numbers. That's the only thing she has to hold on to.
sure. No, and from her perspective, it makes perfect sense. And in reading just the little bit that you shared today, I get the impression that the adults around her cannot think on the same multiple layers that she can, and therefore they
Definitely.
label her and they closet her away because she's just too difficult to expend the energy to get to really know who she is.
That's right. And I think in these places, and again, I have a lot of respect for professionals working in the child welfare system, and I'm a former social worker, so I have a lot of respect. I think most of them are very caring, committed people.
Sure.
But the system doesn't, make it possible for the average childcare worker to spend time really getting to know one kid. They may have 20 kids. They're more, forced to pay more attention to keeping order than anything else.
Right.
And, the structure doesn't create for intimacy or love in that kind of a context. So,
And I think there are pockets of our educational system that works in the same way.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are great flaws that need to be addressed.
As in everything attached to
Yes,
life, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what was the most difficult part for you about writing this story?
Well, I think at least the way I write and our
Hmm.
comments before about how differently people write, but for me, I can't really write something that sounds authentic or that is meaningful unless I feel what the characters are feeling.
Mm.
So to write this, I had to enter into her vulnerability. She's abandoned by her family. She's placed there against her will. Because of the geographic distance, nobody visits her. So she's lost her whole world. And she believes at first that they're going to come back and get her out of there because it's a mistake. She's not a disturbed child, at least when she first gets there. She changes dramatically over the 6 months. And this novella is the story of how she changes over 6 months. But I was forced to really live the inside of an abandoned 12-year-old in put in a very I wouldn't say hostile, but deeply neglectful environment.
So after sinking yourself into that, what would you say was the what was the end result of working through that as a catalyst? What was the biggest takeaway for you at the end of it?
I think I think what this girl does is she looks for a language that is meaningful to her, a language through which she can express her innermost self. The language she finds is math, but I think we all look for a language, whether or not you're a writer. Everybody looks for a language which expresses who they really are, whether it's gardening, whether it's cooking, whatever it is, whether it's professional or whether it's just your own inner life. We all survive through language. And this is really a novella. It's really a book about surviving through language and the power of language, the necessity of language, and how we all have
And
to find that.
and each language for each individual is different.
Exactly.
It's
Absolutely.
not just English or French.
No, 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 no.
It's all the layers and nuances that and somehow we as humans have to figure out how to interpret that.
That's right. Learning to understand someone else's real language, even if they're
Yeah.
speaking English, that's the challenge of a lifetime. No, absolutely. I'm using language in the broadest sense.
Right.
And
Sure. Sure.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
this is a fascinating book. I while you were reading, I added it to my TBR, so
Oh,
I will
thank you.
definitely be picking this one up. This is spectacular. I am so grateful you came on the podcast today and shared your book with us. I think you're going to be one of my new favorite authors.
Oh, thank you so much, Diana. And I'm so happy you invited me to join you. I'm
I
delighted
look
to be here.
forward I look forward to having you back on the program again. Will you come back and do more for us?
I would love that. I would love that. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
You too. Thank you.